Macbeth. First act. The play opens with the news that an attempted invasion of Scotland by the Norwegians, helped by a traitor, the Thane of Cawdor, has failed thanks to Macbeth's courage. While returning home from the battle, Macbeth and his friend Banquo meet three witches who greet Macbeth as Thane of Cawdor and say that he will become King of Scotland. They also promise Banquo that he will father a line of kings. The witch's prophecy begins to work on Macbeth's ambition. Macbeth invites Duncan, the King of Scotland, to his castle and writes a letter to his wife to inform her. She carries out a plan to kill Duncan. Second act. Duncan is murdered by Macbeth, and the blame is put on the king's servants sleeping outside his room. The king's sons, Malcolm and Donald Bain, leave Scotland, fearing for their lives. Macbeth is now on the throne, but Macduff and Banquo are suspicious. Third act. Macbeth does not feel safe because the prophecy is that the throne falls to the heirs of Banquo. He decides to kill Banquo and his son Fleance, but Fleance escapes and Banquo's ghost owns Macbeth. Fourth act. The three witches warn Macbeth to beware of Macduff. This will lead to the murder of Macduff's wife and children. Fifth act. This act opens with the sight of Lady Macbeth's madness. She walks in her sleep, trying to wash away Duncan's blood from her hands. Meanwhile, Malcolm is marching into Scotland with an army. Macbeth is isolated because all the lords have allied with Malcolm, who represents order and stability. Macduff kills Macbeth. The play ends with Macduff holding up Macbeth's head and proclaiming Malcolm King of Scotland. Darkness characterized the whole play. The sun shines only twice, and the darkness of the night is interrupted only by the flashes which light up horrible scenes painted in red, the color of blood. Night does not convey the idea of peace and rest, but on the contrary is connected with lack of sleep and madness, which will be respectively Macbeth's and Lady Macbeth's punishments. Macbeth is the only Shakespearean play set in Scotland in the 11th century. This is probably connected with the fact that after Queen Elizabeth first died in 1603, King James IV of Scotland was crowned King James I of England. The beginning of the play is characterized by fog and a thunderstorm. The action takes place first at Macbeth's castle in Inverness and later at the palace of Dunsinane. By using the moors and castle as contrasting settings, Shakespeare emphasizes some of the themes of the play. There's a contrast between the ideas of natural and unnatural, fairness and fullness, security and danger. Even though the moors are the meeting place for the witches and evil, they are safe. On the contrary, the castles where Macbeth lives are described as pleasant and safe, but they are very dangerous. Fairness and fullness are also reversed in these places. The witches on the moor only deliver true prophecies to Macbeth, while fairness turns into fullness inside Macbeth's castle where murders are committed. This reversal of values is echoed in the witches' words, fair is full and full is fair. The three witches are recognized by Banquo and Macbeth as something supernatural. They have malicious intention and prophetic powers, but are not active agents. They just talk and offer prophecies and potions. In other words, the witches appeal to what Macbeth wants to believe. They exist as constant reminders of the potential for evil in the human imagination. Macbeth can be regarded as a tragic hero. At the beginning of the play, he is a highly respected soldier. At the end of the play, he is totally alone because of his ambition and his own free decisions. Nothing that Macbeth does in the play is forced upon him. His death is the inevitable consequence of his own choices. The most remarkable quality of his character in his awareness of what is happening to him. He suffers horribly throughout the play. He experiences fear and psychological terrors, but he does not compromise. This gives a heroic quality to his tragic course of action. What we witness is his gradual dehumanization. His loss of physical relationship is accompanied by the loss of any power to feel emotions. Lady Macbeth is a devoted wife. Her ambitious plans are for her husband. In the first part of the play, she shows great strength of will, and he is the driving force behind her husband. When Macbeth returns from the murder, frightened and full of doubts, she keeps calm and tries to help him, telling him what to do. In the second part of the play, she gradually loses her confidence. She starts to walk in her sleep, and he is obsessed with the spots of blood she sees on her hands. She is finally overcome by madness and dies. Macbeth is the shortest of the Shakespearean tragedies. It is simple in its plot, but complex in its psychological analysis of what takes place in the mind of the criminal. Unlike the other great tragedies, there is no villain acting against the hero. Macbeth is both villain and hero. He begins as the heroic warrior, but led by ambition, he chooses evil and becomes a murderous tyrant. The main themes of the tragedy are regicide, an act against nature that brings about chaos, catastrophe, and terrible weather conditions, such as the thunderstorm. The terms bloody, and to bleed are most frequently used words in the play, repeated more than 100 times. The reversal of values, fair is foul and foul is fair, introduced by the three witches. It represents the darkest, most dangerous aspect of equivocation and madness. Closely related to the theme of equivocation is the one of false appearances. Shakespeare explores the difference between what is true and what only seems to be true. These themes also find expression through the chain of metaphors connected with clothing, especially clothes that do not fit, and in the repetition of the verb to seem. Time. If time progresses in a way preordained, whatever action we take to change the future can be only one of the steps necessary to achieve that precise future. The alternative is a future which neither fixed nor inevitable, therefore one that can be shaped by human activity. This theme is associated with a chain of images concerned with growth, babies, seeds, plants and trees. In Macbeth, there is a striking use of imagery. The consequences of Duncan's murder involve the concept of order that implies correspondence between the different parts of the creation. Duncan is the symbol of social harmony, order, justice and honesty, the values that should inspire human behavior. For this reason, his death is connected with exceptional natural events. On the night of murder, the earth trembles. After the murder, the macrocosm of nature mirrors the chaos of the social microcosm. The sky is troubled, darkness covers the earth during the day. Duncan's horses break their stalls and eat one another. Images connected with the animal world, macabre and disgusting insects and other animals are used by Macbeth. He always expresses his thoughts and emotion in vivid physical terms, like a man who has reached the very edge of humanity. Macbeth was probably completed and performed both at the Globe and at court in 1606. It may have been part of the entertainments James I laid on that summer for the visit of his brother-in-law, King Christian IV of Denmark. Macbeth is closely connected to its political moment, and its references to the theme of equivocation suggest a date following Father Harry Garner's trial in 1606 in connection with the gunpowder plot. This tragedy was also directly related to several King James I's other interests, including witchcraft. He had published a book on this subject in 1597 called Demonology and his own ancestry.